Iran has a lot of disadvantages, okay? But I want to discuss right now their 3 major advantages that they need to emphasize if they are to survive this war, all right? The first is the idea of faith. All right? So remember that the Iranians are Shia. And as such, it's a religion of martyrdom, of eschatology, of individual sacrifice for the greater good. The Shia are not afraid to die. And because their great religious leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, was assassinated by the Americans and Israelis, they are motivated to seek vengeance, to martyr themselves for the greater good, to seek eternal paradise, okay? Jihad. All right, that's the first major advantage. The second major advantage is terrain. And all this means is that Iran is a mountainous country. And it's huge. It's 3 times the size of Iraq. So it's very hard for America to invade the country. In fact, most analysts will tell you it is suicidal for the American military to invade Iran. It is a mountain fortress, okay? It's a fortress. And the last issue is, the last advantage is nationalism. Okay? All right. So the Iranians are Persians. And the Persians go back 5,000 years. It is one of the greatest civilizations in human history. And as we discussed last semester, in the ancient world there were 3 great civilizations, right? The Jews, the Greeks, and the Persians. And the Persian culture, it's vast, it's beautiful, and it's deep. And that's what gives the Iranian people a lot of pride. Okay? So when they're fighting, they're not just fighting for their religion, they're not just fighting for their homes, they're fighting for the entire civilization that goes back 5,000 years. Right? So these are the 3 major advantages that the Iranians have. Okay? Faith means that they're not afraid to die for what they believe in. Terrain means that the Americans will have a hard problem invading the country. Nationalism means that the people of Iran know what they're fighting for. All right? So, but again, remember, everything that it seems like an advantage can be a disadvantage as well. All right? So, let's go over what the problems are. With faith, you might have an issue of blindness, okay? Or zealotry, where you're not afraid to die, but that means that you're not thinking strategically, okay? Maybe you're gonna waste too many soldiers on the battlefield. They're brave, but they're kind of stupid as well. All right, so you might have an issue where Iran is not using the optimal strategy because their soldiers are not afraid of death. And we're already seeing that where the Americans have already blown up and destroyed the Iranian Navy. Now, anyone could have told you that the first thing the Americans would do is go destroy the Iranian Navy. So you should probably not use the Navy or hide the Navy or blow up the Navy yourself, okay? Because you want to avoid as many casualties as possible. But they didn't do that, and the Americans have now destroyed the Iranian Navy, all right? So that's the issue of faith. Terrain, yeah, it's a fortress, but it can also be a prison, right? Where you're just sort of stuck there, and because it's a mountainous region, it doesn't have that many resources. So Americans can actually disrupt your water supply, disrupt your electricity, okay, and cause general poverty and hardship for your people, okay? And then nationalism, yes, Persia is a great culture, but remember that Iran is an ethnically diverse country. In fact, only 50% of the population of Iran are Persians. Others are different minorities, okay? All right? So you have then ethnic divisions, right? Okay? So looking at this, now we know exactly what the American strategy will be. Basically, the strategy will be to inflict as many casualties as possible on the Iranians. All right? To kill as many people as possible. Destroy the infrastructure of Iran so that the people don't have enough water, electricity, food to survive, okay? And the third, of course, is to create as much ethnic tension in the country as possible by arming and encouraging and bribing ethnic groups to rebel against the central government in Tehran, right? Okay? But again, what the law of asymmetry tells us is that the empire ultimately is not as flexible and open and dynamic as its enemy, okay? The weaker person is going to engage in much more self-reflection, self-debate than the empire, okay? Because the empire will become arrogant. And so ultimately, Iran should triumph over America. And in fact, what's going to happen is that this strategy that America will use against the Iranians will lead to the Iranians becoming much more energetic, open, and cohesive. Okay? So let's look at the American strategy specifically. All right. So this is an ethnic map of Iran. Okay? Now, certain things that you will see is how divided the country is. Yeah, the Persians are in the center, but people you want to watch are the Kurds. Okay, the Kurds. And the Azaris. And the Balochs. Okay? These are the three major problem areas for Iran, and it's always been the case. Remember, the Persians are in the middle. So the Balochs are, first of all, Sunni Muslims. And as we discussed last class, the Sunnis and the Shias have never really gotten along well together. They have different, they're the same religion, Islam, but they have different belief systems. That's led to a lot of conflicts in the past. It's almost like the Catholics and the Protestants, okay? And so the Balochs have been trying to rebel against Iranians for a long time. I guarantee you that there are already Israeli and American special forces embedded in this area, okay? The reason why is that they want to encourage as much civil conflict as possible, but they also want to prepare the possibility for a ground invasion of America, okay? So they would need a forward operating base. And this area could be a very good place for a beginning of a land invasion. Then over here, you have the Kurds. Okay? The Kurds are another minority that seeks national sovereignty. And right now, what's happening is that the Americans and Israelis are bombing this area heavily. And they're targeting police stations. Why? Because they're trying to reduce and eliminate opposition so that they can arm the Kurds and have them come into this area and threaten Iran. What's also happening is that in Iraq, there are these Sunni groups, okay, that the Americans are basically bribing and arming, and they're basically fanatics, okay? They're ISIS. And what the Americans want to do is send them into Iran to cause as much problems as possible. Okay? Then over here you have Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan, it is an independent country. What's really odd is that the majority of ethnic Azaris are actually in Iran. 6% are in the country, 40% are in the country of Azerbaijan. Which means that from the perspective of the Azerbaijani people, this war could be an opportunity to reunite the people, okay, and create a greater Azerbaijan. So these are the three problem areas that you have to watch as this war develops over the next few weeks, over the next few months.